In conversation with Sara Spowart. Sara Spowart is the author of You Are Love, The Discovery of Happiness. She has her own mental health private practice and happiness coaching business and helps clients all over the world with coaching. She also has taught as a university professor and worked as a human rights advocate. She's a creator of happiness-based mindfulness and the integrative theory of happiness that she uses with clients. She also holds a bi-weekly happiness-based mindfulness meditation group every other Sunday via Zoom through meetup.com. And on today's episode of Photo Interview, it's my utmost pleasure, joy and excitement to offer the show today, Sara Spowart. How are you doing, Sara?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm so excited really to have you on the show today. I haven't read a bit of Your Love, The Discovery of Happiness on Amazon. I find it to be quite great that we are here to sit and talk about it. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So, sir, I need to first say that I found the description page of your book, Your Love, on Amazon to be quite pulling, captivating, and awesome. And I would like to ask you the many obvious questions authors get asked. What inspired you to first be a writer and to write this book? I'd love some background story into that.
Yeah. This book, I feel like it more like came through me.
Mm.
And it was more something that I felt like had to be written.
Oh,
Um, and it's based off of my reflections and insights and things that I've experienced myself in my life.
well,
And I wanted to pass it on. Before working in private practice for therapy, I also worked doing a lot of life coaching, energy healing coaching.
oh, wow.
But I also worked with survivors of violence. I worked with human trafficking survivors at one point, and so I did human rights work in other countries, and I'm just constantly questioning why things are the way they are, and what is sort of bigger that I'm supposed to be
Mm.
connecting with and understanding. And so I wanted to give to other people the things I learned to see if it helps
Wow.
them.
Wow, that sounds to be quite amazing, really. It sounds to me like a lovely ride into becoming an author, a lovely introduction into becoming a writer. And I need to say thank you for that short, beautiful illustration and story you've gotten in there. Thanks for sharing with us.
Mhm.
Yeah, and just for the sake of readers who haven't read the book yet, and of course, without giving much information away, could we have a sneak peek of some of the themes we'd expect in terms of subject lines and
Mhm.
themes and topics picking up your love?
Yeah. So my first chapter, it talks about like changing your perspective.
Mm.
Something I see all the time is people feeling like they're suffering so much. Why is this happening to me? And really comparing themselves to things on social media, comparing themselves to ideas
Mm.
they have on how their life's supposed to be, and kind of a lot of self-centered, superficial living that I've never actually met anyone who's very happy, who's very self-centered. And so it's kind of about shifting the perspective to like maybe the painful things that happen are actually positive and there's something good
Mm.
that can come from it if you work on it and help adjust your perspective. And also the great importance of our internal state of being and
Mm.
being authentic and just that if there's one thing I could probably wish for the world, it was for people to be more authentic because I think it would really help everything and you feel better when you're authentic.
Mm.
Um, After that, I talk about pain and then kind of like readjusting your perspective on pain, that maybe there can be some, again, power or benefit to suffering. And the idea
Mm.
that what if we could use our suffering for something that could transform our life or help others or make us more compassionate, make us more loving, open our hearts? Like, what if we could use suffering in a positive way to help make us an even better person?
Wow.
And then I go next, the next chapter focuses on just like the uniqueness of being human and how, even though there is
Mm.
suffering being human, we have such a gift because unlike any other creature on the planet that I'm aware of, we have this ability to reflect and question reality and question things and just try to understand and change ourselves as well and transform things that we experience. We don't have to just react.
Yeah.
And then I have three more chapters after that, and I talk about different stages of insight. So I talk about like what I term the victim stage, which is when we feel like things are happening to us and we feel so bad for ourselves. And
Mm,
yes, that's not to say there aren't people that are victims of different issues, like hunger and poverty and that, but there's also this perpetual victim thing that goes on that
mm,
can justify a lot of destructive, selfish behavior and keeps us self-centered, basically. People
mm.
get stuck there in being as a victim.
Oh,
And then
wow.
I talk about kind of shifting the perspective to another stage that I call stage two, which is the giving stage. And that's where you shift from thinking just about yourself to waking up and be like, oh, there's other people. It's not just me. It's not
Mm,
even just my family or close people. There's other people too.
yeah.
Then from there, shifting, opening up even more, called the shifting stage, where you start to see yourself, kind of like see life as like you can almost say like an energy field. Like you can start to see yourself and others, and you
Mm,
start to the separation between yourself and others breaks down, and you see bigger connections,
mm,
even to feeling connection and oneness with animals, with plants, with all that is. And then the next stage after that I call infinity stage, which is a oneness and feeling total connection with everything and seeing yourself in
mm,
everything and just really feeling just really incredible love. And that's why I say you are love, because one of the biggest things I see every day with my work is people trying to get love, trying to fill like an empty cup, and they don't know,
mm.
and they don't
Wow.
understand they can be their own source of love. They can create love and give love, and that's
Absolutely.
actually something that we can all do. We don't have to act and feel like we're starving for love. We can generate
Mm.
our own feeling of love, and that can happen by giving. And then I talk about living in a love centered perspective, and I have some meditations and things like that too.
Wow, that's quite amazing, really. You've got an amazing trunkload of themes and subject lines in there. And while you were speaking, I was taking some note of some of the things you mentioned. And I need to say they're quite relatable. They are things that we need as humans to navigate life, particularly on
Mhm,
its own. I love you talking about the uniqueness of being human, talking about readjusting one's idea on pain, which is very, very important, quite crucial. It helps to
mhm,
fight depression. It helps to fight you being in a state of loneliness, etc. I like the fact that you mentioned to be more authentic, which I think it is something very, very important because some people are trying not to be somebody else, not to be
mhm,
themselves. They are really trying us to be somebody, and it's really, really dying down. It's causing a lot of pain inner that they had no idea on. I love you mentioned internal state of being, which is very, very beautiful. And again, the fact that you mentioned changing your perspective, which I think is very important and is one of those steps even required, not just for life itself, but to be a successful person, you have to change your perspective. You have to change your mind to
mhm,
the way you want your life to go in. And the most beautiful thing you mentioned is the fact that comparing yourself to another people on social media, especially in this 21st century, among the young folks,
mhm,
it has done a lot. It has brought down our self-esteem. It has brought down the kind of goodness that lies within you because you're
mhm,
over there strolling on somebody's page and comparing yourself to them. Comparing yourself with other people is the best way to put yourself into depression. And
mhm,
'cause it's very important. You've mentioned amazing themes that relate with the people of our current age, both young and old, etc. This is an amazing thing, and now I understand where your title comes from. Where your title
mhm,
comes from. You are love. I was going to initially ask you how you came about that title for a book, but now after mentioning the themes, I realize where the title is coming from. You've got an
mhm.
amazing work in there, Sarah.
Thank you. Yeah, the love people are looking for, they can actually be that themselves. So
Yeah.
it's we're not a victim. We don't have to see ourselves as a victim. We can actually see ourselves as powerful, if
Absolutely.
we learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And one way is to start giving, because when you give, you think of yourself less a lot of times, and you
Absolutely.
know, how impoverished can you be with love if you're able to give some kindness to someone? And
Mm,
it sort of like helps create more and more of it. Because what people don't realize is, at least I found, when you're feeling like you're empty inside, or there's a, you know, empty cup, there's nothing to give, or you feel like you just have all this pain and sadness, that's an energy you are generating and reinforcing over and over, and you're stuck in that energy loop, like trapped in a cycle.
mm,
And I talk about this. I created something recently I call Happiness-Based Mindfulness, therapy
mm,
program that I'm publishing, and I talk about this in there, how we get stuck in these cycles in life. And so, what I'm saying is, okay, let's say everything on some level is some form of energy. You're stuck in this loop of sadness and feeling like there's not enough. What if you can create a loop of feeling you are love, or you are peace, or you are happiness,
mm,
and then do things to help foster that
mm.
and increase that experience.
Oh, wow. That's quite amazing, really. I love your take on this. It seems to me to be quite amazing and very great. You've got a wonderful, life-changing themes in your books, and I can go on and on and on and on. This is beautiful, really. Very
Thank you.
beautiful. Very
Thank you.
beautiful. And also, what are you hoping to see happen from the book? What are you hoping that readers will take away from reading the book? I love your take on that too.
Yeah. I think what I would like is for people to feel more empowered, that they don't need to just get scraps of love or hope or attention from outside themselves. We're actually much more powerful than we think.
Mm,
And there's one thing that I've seen with a lot of patterns are that we have to look on the outside of ourselves in order to fill our cup or be okay.
mm,
But if we can decide who we want to be and work from there. So
yeah.
the biggest thing I say is that you have more power over your state of being and your internal experience than
Mm.
you might know.
Oh
You
wow.
can feel happier than you realize. And
Oh
maybe none
wow.
of the things you think should happen will happen, but you could still be happy and feel better in spite of that while working towards your goals. You don't have to be miserable waiting to attain the things you want.
Well, and I think quite a lot of people are actually going through this really. Currently in our world, it's a changing world. It's a world
Mhm,
whereby we have much sadness imbibing people and they just keep it to themselves.
mhm,
People are going through a lot, to be frankly speaking. So many people
mhm,
are depressed. So many people are
mhm,
miserable. So many things are happening. And sometimes it just take a little bit of this to feel more empowered. And I think I love that you mentioning that this is one of the goal, one of the things you wish readers take away from reading the book, to feel
mhm,
empowered, because it's very important to have knowledge, to feel empowered. So when all of these things come, you would have the knowledge and understanding to receive them and to carry
mhm.
on victoriously.
Yeah, yeah. We you know, some a lot of people I find feel like, well, I don't have the relationship I want, or I don't have any relationship, or I don't
Yeah.
have the money I want, I don't have education or the
Our
job or the
friends.
body or the friends, or just
Mm,
or just, you know, fill in the blank, XYZ. I don't have that. Therefore, I can't be happy, or there's something wrong with me. And you know what? I've met people that have all those things and
they're
they
sad.
still feel empty, because it's actually feeling good. You don't have to have all those things. You don't. You
Yeah.
can decide to just make your own values of what you want for your life, and work from there. And if all your goal is I want to be a peaceful, loving person, you can start doing that today.
Mm,
Um, and then be proud of yourself for that. And one of the things I find is people thinking they have to be great and achieve all this stuff and all this outer things, and it leads to a life of chasing and chasing, and
mm,
you're not living your life. And even if you attain all the stuff you want, it's fleeting. It's, you know, imagine if you had, I don't know, a million followers on Instagram and all these comments. that's still temporary. It's fleeting. It will come and go. And there's
Yeah.
stress for those people with trying to maintain that too. And
Yeah.
the reality is we're more than all of those outside things. We
Yeah.
are able to feel happy now by shifting our perspective and seeing things differently. And it sounds cliche, except I have truly experienced that. It is a real thing.
This is very impressive. This is life-changing. This is motivating. This is helping. It's what
Oh,
self-helping, really. I love your take on this. Thank you so much for mentioning. And apart from Your Love, do you have any other works you've authored or say currently working on?
yeah. So I edited a book on happiness and humanitarian assistance, and then I wrote a book on it was a global handbook for mental health. But what I have coming out right now, I was gonna title it Love All, but I changed it to Happiness-Based Mindfulness because I thought it would be more approachable for people. It's basically sort of like a part two of Your Love. So happiness-based mindfulness, it provides concrete applied tools
Mm.
based off the concepts from Your Love. So, because to me, Your Love makes sense, even if it seems a little abstract with some of the processes. But I
Wow.
took those things and I actually created a psychoeducational program to provide tools for people to change their inner state of being. It's going to be published next couple months.
Oh, congratulations on that, really. That's a great
Thank
job
you.
you've gotten going.
Thank you.
That's amazing. And I wanted to ask you, how were you able to get the time to sit and write this work? How is the writing process like? I mean, from the start of publishing this to the period of you working on another book, what was the
Mhm.
period like? What was the writing process like? How do you get the inspirations and ideas to write these books as well?
Yeah. Well, I find the funny thing is the better you feel on the inside, the more energy you have, the more
Yeah.
inspiration, the more ideas. Um, when you have more like love inside of you, the more creative you can be. And for me, I find it therapeutic. So I do therapy, almost all day, every day. Not every day, but
Wow.
most days. And so in my free time, I do find it to be very like nice for me to be able to be creative and put on paper some ideas I had, things I figured out, things I realized or insights I had from the week. And yeah, so I for me it's it's like it's fun.
Yeah.
It feels fun for me to take that time out and go to a coffee shop for 4 or 5 hours and write. Like I enjoy that.
Mm.
It doesn't feel like work to me. It feels like something that's a creative outlet and it makes me feel like maybe there's something I can contribute that will help people, which always makes me feel good
Absolutely.
and energized.
Oh, wow. That's very great and quite inspiring, really.
Thank you. And I should mention too, in terms of the process, I find I get into kind of like a flow state. So once I sort of get into it, it just sort of flows from me and I don't really have to think about it too much.
That's amazing too. I mean, I love your answers to this question. I've been enjoying it so far, and they've been so great to me. Your response have been so amazing and very great. And I would like the viewers to have a snippet into your writing by you. I don't know if you would love to read a short section of the book to the audience. It could be a short
Sure.
line, a short paragraph, or even a short page if you would like to.
Um, so I'm going to read the overview and goal of the book, if that's okay.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Um, The aim of this book is to help assist you in beginning or growing your understanding of your true nature and
Mm,
interconnectedness with everything and everyone around you.
mm,
My hope is that after reading this book, you will have a deeper understanding of the way we are all one.
mm,
There is a universal energy that flows and makes up absolutely everything and also manifests into infinite forms. That energy that is in you is also in me. We are all connected.
yeah.
Understanding this brings about a deeper level of joy, empathy, harmony, happiness, peace, and love in our lives.
Mm.
This positive shift flows over and positively impacts everything we do. Would you like me to read more?
Yeah, let's do more, please.
Okay.
It's
Chapter one.
enjoyable, so I don't want it to.
Chapter
Let's do more.
one. Chapter one, shifting your perspective. Okay, it starts off with a quote. The difference of enlightenment is just one perspective shift.
Yeah.
Shift your perspective by being thankful.
Mm,
I'm thankful for everything, including the so-called good and bad, because it has
mm,
all served a purpose. When we allow it or can detach enough, everything can be used for our growth and expansion. The more you expand and grow, the better you feel and the better life can be.
mm,
Growth can be painful, but in the long term, we always feel best when we grow, learn, and expand.
absolutely.
Life becomes lighter, more loving, kinder, and more peaceful, and you begin to see yourself in everyone and everything.
Mm,
Some of the major events of my life that pushed me towards understanding and change were
mm.
difficult family struggles, family addictions,
Wow.
challenges with eating disorders,
Wow.
experiences I've had with sexual harassment,
Wow.
very abusive relationships, and even two men trying to take me at one point when I worked in East Africa 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Furthermore, I've had multiple life-threatening asthma attacks where I almost died and had severe life-threatening allergic reactions where I had to be hospitalized because I was unable to breathe. In addition to this, I was very ill with typhoid fever when I worked in Tanzania. And
Wow.
I came close to dying from this because I was incorrectly diagnosed and treated. It goes on and on. I don't know.
Wow. That's
Let me skip
amazing.
more positive. So I
That's,
go on to discuss a lot of negative things, but then what I say is that the pain I saw and experienced collectively from situations
yeah.
led me to think the world is not about making us happy or following a formula for success. There's something much deeper going on.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where I start is that there's something much deeper going on than just the painful things we experience.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's true. I love your perception of this. I love
Mhm.
your reading. It sounds quite amazing. And I like the story you've told in there. I never knew you've been to Africa if you've never read that, really.
Yeah. I worked in Tanzania. I've been there twice, and I worked
Wow.
in Mali and Ghana and Burkina Faso as well for some humanitarian projects.
Ghana is close to Nigeria, where I'm from.
Oh, very cool.
That's amazing to know. That's very amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. And just as a published author, I would like to have your advice for struggling writers, those who are still struggling with penning their books down and publishing. What would you advise people in this category?
Yeah. For me, if this helps, my advice is a couple of things. Think about your why, like why are you doing it?
Um,
And
mm,
have that drive you. If you're doing it because you want attention or money,
mm,
status, probably not good reasons. Because it's not an easy process.
yeah,
I mean, that's what you want to do, go for it, but I wouldn't recommend that. If your why is that you have some sort of information or story to share, something you think could uplift others,
yeah.
focus on your why and try to think of it from a positive space of like, wow, this is really cool. I'm going to be contributing something to the world. The other thing I would say is if there's one thing I've learned, life is temporary and we don't know how
Mm,
much time we have. Um,
wow.
Sometimes the problem is we think we have a lot of time. And so remembering, okay, I don't know how much time there is really. What do I want to make sure I leave behind? Like, I don't want to have
Mm,
regrets at the end. So, is there something that you feel you should have said or published or done so you don't have any regrets? Because
mm,
one of the worst things I see is people living in regret and you can't undo the past. So, if there's something
mm.
you want to say, it's better to say it than live in regret.
Oh, wow. That's amazing, really. And I found some iota, a good number of inspiration in this interview. I mean, you've inspired me. I wanted to write a book, yeah, what I'm working on, but this conversation has really inspired me that yes, I need to do it more. I just wrote out the title again, hoping I'll get back to it after the conversation. I mean, I've enjoyed this conversation wholeheartedly. It has been very inspiring, quite motivating, and I'm so excited to be speaking with you. Honestly speaking, I'm inspired, so I want to say thank you. Thank you so
Mhm.
much for sharing these stories with us.
Thank you. Yes, it was very fun. Thank you.
Yeah. And just in case we have some viewers who are watching this interview, I would love to get a copy of You I Love, or what platform is it available on for purchase?
Yeah, it's on a lot of different platforms. Probably the easiest one is Amazon. If you go to Amazon, you can probably most easily get it there. And there's also, I think it's on Kindle in the electronic version, and there's also an Audible version as well. And then I had it translated into Spanish, so you can actually listen to and also purchase a physical copy in Spanish too.
Wow, that's great. And I left a link in the description part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Sara Spowart books directly on Amazon and Barnes& and Nobles on our website and also on other platforms. I also left a link to our social media pages for possible followings. So thank you so much, Sarah, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. And also, this is more than awesome. Very great, quite exciting, very motivating, very uplifting having this conversation with you. I learned wholeheartedly, and I'm sure viewers too learned quite a lot from it. And I want to say thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you as well. This was fun.
I love it wholeheartedly. I can say that over and over again.